There's demonstrations all around in Amsterdam and London, free Palestine, Muslim Brotherhood, you know, killing themselves in Syria, in Iraq, in Syria.
They just want to cause havoc, that's all they want.
By the way, Eddie Marsh has been 3 weeks of cigarettes because of me. My product.
Yes,
We've missed these public announcements all the way.
Do you think it's the Iranians egging them on? It says the third war will be Samach Yerushalayim.
Yeah.
The Zohar Kodesh in the Pasha V'Eira. It says Asinu b'nei Yishmael la'aseh shloisha milchamos ba'aretz b'achaz hayomim. Echad bayam, that's the Twin Towers. Echad bayabasha, probably the Gulf Wars in the desert. Echad Samach Yerushalayim. No, it could be the Twin Towers on the sea. It's on the coast. Could have been. Right. Yeah. איפה מה? סוף, הקטע האחרון של פרשת ואיר. ואיר, כן. What do they care? Why are the Mizrahis stoking up 4 houses in East Jerusalem? What? What are they trying to do? Just show them who's boss there?
They want to cause havoc, that's what they
Who? The Mizrahi?
No, they're all the Palestinians. The Israelis,
Stirring them up.
yeah, basically.
But why? What do you gain?
Blooded.
I see.
Control themselves.
Right. Okay.
Oh my days, I'm going to sell lollipops in my shop.
Oh. What's it laced with, Ellie?
Just a bit of cannabis.
Yeah, I would have thought so. Yeah, that's a bit mild for you, Ellie, isn't it?
And if you got any ADHD boys in your class, send them my way.
And the ADHD boys? You're the last one, aren't you?
I'm ADHD.
What?
I've got Tourette's.
Yeah, it's not connected.
No, I've got Tourette's.
It's your first cousin, though, no? No. Okay. But Ellie, when you were on form, you were a great guy to have in the class.
And then you come out about 10, mate.
Right. It's very good, very, very good. Okay, so we got Rus. Megilas Rus, we laying on Shevuios. Right? So what's the real reason? What's the real reason why we laying Rus on Shevuios? So there are a few very good Shmaka answers. Everyone knows one or two very famous ones. Is because number one, it took place around this time of the year. Yeah? Okay. And also David HaMelech. David HaMelech was born and died on Shevuos. And Rus was the altar baba of David HaMelech. So there's a connection to Shevuos. But there's 2 other answers. One very, very fascinating was, think what Rus had to how much effort she had to put in, Ellie, to become Jewish. She was a princess. And when she married Megilas was a wealthy man. But he lost it all. And then he died penniless. And then she came back with Naomi. Chazal say they were so poor, they didn't even have shoes. Came back barefoot. Her and Naomi. Rus and Naomi. Not only that, as far as she knows, she can't marry a Jewish man. No one's going to marry her. As far as they knew, you can't marry anyone from Moav. Even the Gioris, it makes a difference. Why? How come the halacha of only the males, not the female? Because they never had the shayla before. It never happened. No one had ever come from Moav, right? So the Medrash says, Ellie, listen to this. The Medrash says, so Rus put a lot of effort into becoming Jewish. So it says, it's l'lamedcha. The Medrash asked the question, Ma'ini Rus eis la'atzeres shenikris ba'atzeres bizman matan Torah. Why is it read at the time of matan Torah? L'lamedcha sh'lo nitna Torah ela yidei yisurin v'oini. The Torah is given, it's not easy. Initially, it's not easy. You've got to put a lot of effort into it. He brings the pasuk, and he says, like you see, Rus, what she put into the amount of effort, and she put into becoming Mikabel Geirus and becoming Jewish. Okay. Now, I was talking. I gave a share tonight to some boys. They left school years ago, and I never thought about this before. But if I was speaking to you about bosses, you go to any Jewish child and tell them, meat and milk and parav. Yeah, he understands straight away what you're talking about. Try to explain to a guy, milk and inflation. He will ask you, I don't understand. Can you eat milk? Yeah. Can you eat meat? Yeah. So why can't you put them together? Right? And what's parav? It's not milk, it's not inflation. So why is it? Right? They wouldn't understand it. But every little kid, parav, a place of kitchen. These are musagim which we latch onto straight away. But we are 3,300 years down the line. Imagine the Dor in the Midbar who said Nasav and Ishma. Do you realise, Ellie, everything they had done till now, pretty much, everything they were able to do, they can't do now. And they could have lied in bed the day before, Erev Matan Torah, they could have slept all day, no problem. The next morning, they got Sosman Krishma, Sosman Tefillah, you've got, all of a sudden, you've got millions of things to do, loads of things which you did till now you can't do. It must have been absolutely got the lights went upside down.
Ellie. They were keeping the Torah before anyway.
Did they? Others did. They kept the 7 mitzvahs. Right, Ellie, there's only one thing a goy can't eat. Do you know that? There's only one thing a goy can't eat. Shemi, what is it? Even a chai. But everything else you can eat. That means you can have shrimps and you can have prawns and oysters and everything. All of a sudden comes Matan Torah. No, you can't have any of that anymore. All his favourite foods you can't have. Question is about the mom, whether if you ask the mom, if you wanted the mom to take something not kosher, did it work? It'd be interesting to know. I don't know, talk about it. Okay, everything's gone upside down. So for them, it must have been unbelievable teething problems. You can understand now a little bit why they had teething problems in the midbar. Right? You can imagine how many shilas of Boss of Acholah Moshe Rabbeinu must have got. Loads. Everyone's mixing up everything. That's the famous thing about the cheesecake, yeah? I actually said to another class today, I said, do you know why we eat cheesecake on Shevuios? I said, because Boaz gave Russ a piece of cheesecake. It could be, I don't know. It was a joke on the spur of the moment. But it could have been, who knows? So therefore, the recipe's been handed down from Russ since then. Who knows? But they say about the pots and the pans, no? Okay, wherever the cheshbon is. But I'd like to say, another reason why we're laying Russ on Shevuios, and I think it could be Emes Lamito. The Chazal ask, there's nothing in the book of Russ which we don't know. There's no halachas, no mitzvahs or anything which without the book of Russ, we wouldn't know it. We know it all. There's nothing no new information in the book of Russ. So why is it written down in Tanakh, Eli, that it becomes part of Torah Shebiksav? Every word you learn is a mitzvah. Says the Medrash, unbelievable Medrash. L'lamedcha, to teach you the sechah, the reward of people who do chesed. The book of Russ is full of chesed. No, Geras we know already. Some details, yeah, but the concept of Geras we know, yeah? Concept of Geras we know. So, think about it. Russ, she buried her dead husband. She was owed a ksuba, normally was skin. She said, forget about it. She was mavata on it. She came back with Russ. She could have taken her to the border. Waved her goodbye. No, she came with her. She says to Normie, you stay at home, I'll go to the field. Boaz, make sure plenty things fall on the floor just to where Russ is walking in the field. It's chesed from beginning to end, and from there comes the Melech HaMashiach. From all this chesed. Now, this is brilliant. Rabbi Sachs, Zichron Livracha, said something amazing. Do you know what the old English word for kindness is? The old English word for kindness is ruth. How do you know? Someone's got no kindness is called ruthless. Ruthless? He's got no ruth in him. So even the Goyim understood the word rus means chesed. It means chesed. It's unbelievable. Now, what did Hillel tell the guest? He's standing on one foot. He's got 30 seconds to tell the guest what's the whole Torah all about. What did Hillel tell him? The whole Torah is chesed. The whole Torah, therefore, that's what the connection of Rus to Matan Torah. Because if you're not about chesed, if you're not Isha chesed, you're not going to become the Torah. You can't do it. All the mitzvahs of the Torah of giving and helping and giving and being careful what you say to the people. And then all the mitzvahs, it's all for Haftarech HaKamaycha. So that's why you need to read the book of Rus on Shevuos. It gives you a spiritual injection of chesed that pumps up and encourages you. You see what amazing thing can happen with chesed. And that's the connection to Matan Torah, because the whole Torah, as Hillel told the Ger, is for Haftarech HaKamaycha. So that's why we lay Rus on Shevuios. Now, Rus starts off an amazing pasuk. This is the most amazing pasuk if you think about it a little bit. And it starts off like this, very innocent pasuk. Vayhi bimei shafait hashoftim. How do you translate that, Shimi? Vayhi it was bimei in the days of. Now it should say hashoftim, the judges. And we know we're talking before the kings. Yeah, before Shmuel Hanavi, before. So Chazal say shafait hashoftim means it was in the days when the judges were judged. That means the leaders were, should we say, not top quality, not as good as they should have been. It was a very shaky generation.
Judged by
And people, if the judge said to anybody to stop doing it, he would say, well, you do this, why should I listen? The judges were judging, they weren't impeccable, their integrity wasn't as good as it should have been, so they couldn't really tell anybody off. Now, if from the top is shaky, it's going to filter down, isn't it? Because people will use them as an example, or a bad example, but as an example, that's how it works. So listen to this. And it tells us what's the problem. Vayhi ra'av ba'aretz. There's a famine. Now, Chazal tell us there's 5 Vayhi bimeis in Tanakh. This is one of them. And they're all tzoros. All of them was a difficult time in Jewish history. So Shmuel Hanavi wrote the Rus. 1, 2, 3, 4. It gives us 7 words. Now, why do famines occur in Eretz Yisrael? There's no rain. Now, why do the Kodesh Baruch Hu not send food? So let's go to Pirkei Avos. Hey, Mishnah Yud. Oh, so it starts off. 7 punishments come into the world for 7 different sins. Mixos on ma'asim, some Yidden are giving their ma'isa, umixos and einam ma'asim, some are not. Because Baruch works midah k'neged midah. So Rav shel bat tzoros ba, a famine due to lack of rain comes. Mixos on re'evim, some will be hungry, umixos on sevei, some will have food. The bria, the world, especially Eretz Yisrael, because Baruch Hu works midah k'neged midah. So when the Yidden are giving and doing the chesed they're supposed to be doing, because Baruch Hu responds with the chesed he wants to give us, and he blesses us. But once we stop the cycle, then Baruch Hu stops the cycle. Carries on the Mishnah. Gomru shlo la'aseh, if they stop giving completely, so then you get a general famine. Ra'av shel muhuma v'shel b'tzoros ba. They stop giving challah. He said then they start getting droughts. 2 Mishnahs later. 4 times in the 7-year Shemitah cycle, Hadever misrabeh, the pestilences, illnesses increase. Year 4, year 7, Motzei Shemitah and Motzei Sukkos every year. Now, what's the cycle? Year 1 to 6, you give Truma every year. And you give Ma'aser Rishon every year to the Levi. But year 1 and 2, 4 and 5, you take Ma'aser Sheni and eat in Yerushalayim. But year 3 and year 6, you don't have Ma'aser Sheni, you have Ma'aser Oni. So people who don't give it the Ma'aser Oni in year 3, so year 4 there'll be problems. In year 6 they don't give it, in Shemitah there can be problems. Because they didn't give the Ma'aser Oni in Shemitah. Then they close the doors in Shemitah as well, there are problems in Shemitah. And then every year, at Sukkot time, all the stuff is harvested after Pesach, left in the field, brought in at Sukkot time, you're supposed to be giving your Matnas Hanim. If you don't, because Baruch Hu says, right, there'll be a devet. So if there's a Rav in Eretz Yisrael, it means the Yidden are not giving out their Trumas and Ma'aseros properly. So Kosh Baruch Hu responds, you're not giving, I'm not giving. That's how it works. Why were they not giving? Because the leader of the generation, put in our small language, was tight-fisted. That's why he left. So Vayelech Ish mi Beis Lechem Yehud doesn't say who he is. Very interesting. Does not say who he is. Till Pasuk base. He went, of all places to go, Logor B'stei Moav. What's Moav famous for in Tanakh? Lack of hospitality. Of all places, he was attracted there. Because that was his nature as well, a bit. Who? The Ishto Shnei. He is wife and his 2 kids, says Rashi. Rashi says, Oshi Godel Hoya. This is not Boaz, this is Boaz's uncle, Elimelech. Oshi Godlai, or Parnas Adai, he was the leader of the generation. Why is the Parnas called a Parnes? Lefarnes means to provide. Parnasa, yeah? So, you could say in his Zechus, Klaisol would benefit, but also, it's his job to make sure everybody's got. That's his job. The Sfadim call it in their killers, Parnas Presidenti. Yeah, we call it the Rosh HaKol, yeah? The Parnas, yeah? So the Rosh HaKol is supposed to be a generous individual who's forking out the whole time for the killer. Right? So the Sfadim call it Parnas Presidenti. That's their nusach. Says Rashi, V'yotzo me'eretz Yisrael l'chutz la'aretz mipnei soros ha'ayin. He literally had a narrow eye in looking out for people who need help. People were knocking on his door the whole time. That's how he was punished. How did Chazal know that? I saw this tonight. Unbelievable. How did Chazal know that's why he was punished? Because Avram Avinu left Eretz Yisrael for the famine. Didn't get punished for it. The problem was sorrow, but he didn't get punished because Avram Avinu left because of the famine. That's a reason. That's a reason to leave. But Elimelech, it wasn't because of the famine. He had plenty. Do you know how long you can store grain for, by the way? If the thing he was Yoshon, tell him. You can store it for about 3,000 years. So you can store it for thousands of years, grain. In the pyramids, they found grain. Yeah, you can store grain for a long, long time. So he had plenty, but he didn't want to share it out. He didn't want to give it out. Now, there's a lot of Mamori Chazal about people who are tight-fisted. לא, בגלל הרוב הוא עזב. לא, אבל הוא עזב בשביל שלא רצה לחלק לצדקה. But David HaMelech didn't give the money, the famine, which he collected for the base of Megilas. Yeah. So Sholom HaMelech didn't use it. He wouldn't use it for the base of Megilas. So he should have given it out in the time of famine. So now, this is an incredible thing. We all know this is true. I read it in a book once on psychology. He said, you will not find a generous man who is not liked and a miser who is liked. You will never find Lo Timsa Ish Nadiv, or Nadav, Nadiv, שלא אוהבים אותו. כולם אוהבים את הנדבן. ולא תמצא קמצן שאוהבים אותו. You never find. Now, it's true, we like to get, right? But it's a very funny thing, this. It's something which I've never had this yet, so I'm not judging anybody, but it's a very, very funny thing. I've always tried to understand. What does a very wealthy man do in his 80s? Why is he still buying properties? Now, I actually found an answer to this. Found an amazing answer. There's two types of ashiras. There's what we call an ashir, which is a lot of money in the bank. And there's Chazal's ashiras, where you're samech b'chelka, you're happy with what you've got. So the Kesav Sofer says, I found this shtickle. He said, somebody who's born with Mazel Ashiras, where all the deals, some people get the deals, they're always getting the good deal. There's a thing, there are people like that, they've got the golden touch. He said, they've got Mazel Ashiras. He said, as long as they're alive, they've got this Mazel Ashiras, that's why they can't not, effectively, get more and more and more. That is the Mazel they were born with, and that's what they'll have till they leave this world. He said, but that's the ashiras where the more you've got, the more you want. So they're never satisfied, and they keep banging, and they keep doing the deals because they've got the mazel ashiras. Hashem gave them that before they were born. He said, then there's the mazel when the Torah promises bracha. Says the Kesav Sofer, when the Torah promises bracha, it means the bracha of Chazal that you'll be very happy with what you've got, and that the bonus of that is that you are happy with what you've got. So you're not running around your whole life looking for more and more and more and more and more. He says that he calls that ashiras misad hazechus. So probably you can have both. You probably can, right? Somebody can have both. Someone
under 80 years old probably can make him.
That's what they would tell you, or that's what they're probably thinking.
Well, so you go to the auction, you ask most people why I'm buying to get to tzedakah, no?
Well, is that true?
I think so.
Is it? They've got this thing inside them. They can't not buy more properties. They can't stop.
Someone who's got money, someone who's known to buy is going to be sent stuff.
That's right. If he's got the mazel, it will come to him. That's right.
Yeah.
But he can't, as long as he's alive, he can't stop these deals coming because that is his mazel.
It's been put on his table.
That's right. That is his mazel. That's his mazel. The mazel meal. The Gemara says before you 40 days before you're born, before you're conceived, Hashem is geyser on you, what's going to be? So if he's geyser on you, Mazal Ashirus, yeah? So you know, I think they say the Baal Shem Tov said a Pshat. What does it mean man's judged every day? The Gemara says Rosh Hashanah, man is judged every day. So we said, but it's all fixed at Rosh Hashanah, how much are you going to get? So he says, yeah, but I think every day he's judged, how much of that he'll get today, what's decided in Rosh Hashanah, and also how much he'll enjoy it, and how much he'll benefit from it. There's all, you can have it, but you can't do anything with it, or, So he said, so every day he's being judged. Will he enjoy it today? Will he be able to use it today? Will he? So the amount, the stack of it.
He knows he's going to inherit something.
Right.
It's not fluid.
So I'll tell you something amazing.
Somebody's got it on trust till he's 18 or whatever.
It's no use to him. It's no use to him. Right. So Taka found out. I checked it recently. Bill Gates, right, and his wife are a parting company. So it's Taka true. They waited till their youngest kid was 18 before they announced it. It's Taka true. They're leaving $10 million to each child, and the other 130 billion they're leaving to vaccines for African kids. Something. That's his big stocking. Right? So now, now can you imagine what $130 billion could do? Let's take for an example. Let's take an Eretz Yisrael. Yeah? So Yad Eliezer helps how many families? About 6,000 families a month they help. And their budget is around $50 million, I think. I think annually. Right? So $1 billion is 12 times their budget. So they could help 72,000 families. It's a 20-year budget, yeah. So instead of sticking vaccines in people,
But Bill Gates never gave away $130 billion.
No, he's put it in his what do you call it? His foundation. He's done it. So well, it's very interesting now. So what is it? So it tells us like this. He believes he made his money.
They have got massive charities.
They have. So he believes he made it, and he wants his kids to make it themselves. So you think, but we don't live like that. If you're born into a family of an Oshie like that, means HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent your neshama down to this world. Dafka in that family, your avodah is to use the resources of the family. For Klal Yisrael. That's your job. So none of us giving away to Yena or not let your kids have it. Hashem put it in this family. He wants this family's avodah to be. Your job is to help wherever you live. That chelik of Klal Yisrael. So you're not supposed to give it all away. Halachas, you're not allowed to. You go up to half, I think. Because Hashem's giving you a tafkid, and the money Hatzlacha was from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it's all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he's giving you a job to use it properly. So therefore, it's not for you to give away. I mean, it is to distribute. I mean, that's your job, but to not leave it for your kids. Very, very interesting. He made it from scratch, so he wants his kids to make it from scratch. 10 million not going from scratch. Yeah.
4 kids.
Right. I actually once, I must tell you a story. I went to a farmer's market in Derbyshire, and there was they let me stand by the inner ring, and so there was a farmer there who saw I was a guest, wasn't buying cows, so he stopped bidding and he explained to me how the whole thing works. He said they come in and then they're whacking. If you want to see Tzad Balachayim on a cow, you go to the farmer's market. They come in and they whack them, and then the seconds and they're bidding and they're bidding. He explained to me the whole thing how it works. And then he told me, he said he sold his farm. He said I got a couple of million for it. He said, but a farmer has to be a farmer, so he always have a little farm with a couple of cows and a couple of sheep because he's got to be a farmer. That's all he knows. So I said, well, what do you do with the money? So he said, I actually bought each of my children 10 properties to get them started in life, he said. Right? And then he kept talking. But I thought, Lamaisa, he's right. He realises, they're his kids and he's got the thing. He's not going to bankroll them forever and ever and ever, but at least he'll help them start. I think that is I don't know anything, but Lamaisa, anyway, they told me a very funny story. He said, have you noticed, they showed me on the board, every cow's got a passport and it's got a date of birth and who the mother was and everything. And he told me, he said, some supermarkets will pay more for the cow if you know who the bull was, if you know who the father was. They'll pay a premium. So Chaim, my brother, was in America at the time, some holidays. So I texted him, I said, Chaim, I've just learned a Chiddush. He texts back, what? I said, that you're worth more if you're a Miyuchas. So he texts back immediately, you mean Yichus is a load of bull? Brilliant, no? So that's okay. So now, Elimelech, now the Torah doesn't say who his name was in the first pasuk. It's an amazing thing, this. The Torah is very, very protective of Kavod Abrius, human dignity. So had he gone and come back pretty quickly, it would never have revealed who he was. His problem was he stayed there. So then in pasuk base, it reveals who he was. So it tells you, V'shem ha'ish Elimelech, V'shem ishtoi Naomi, the name of his wife is Naomi, V'shem shnei vonav Machlin v'chilyon. Now it says Ephrosim. What does Ephrosim mean? Ephrati. It says where they came from, Beis Lechem Yehuda. Now, the tribe of Yehuda were aristocracy. The Maisa, they were the most choshev tribe. Beis Lechem was like the capital of Yehuda. It was like the most choshev area of Savion of Yehuda, yeah? Right? Ephrosi meant you were absolute nobility. Rashi says chashuvim. If you had the title Ephrosi, it really meant it was like Lord effectively, something like that. It was a very, very prestigious title. So it's telling you, despite all his chashivas and wherever he came from, it didn't help him. He died pretty quickly. He says, "Vayavoy shtei moav vayiyu sham." Now in the first part it says logor, just to stay as a ger, temporary citizenship sort of thing, yeah. But once they got there, gets kishmak, vayiyu sham. Lagur, Ken. Lagur ba'azbanu. Temporary, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Right. No, here as well. בהתחלה, גם כן לגור.
מה זה היו שם?
נשארו שם, קנו ארמון. זהו. Yeah. Okay, so now, it's amazing how Moav generally did not like Jews.
איך אנשי חוץ לארץ קוראים את הפסוק הזה?
אבל יש בעיה. אלה השלוחים שיוצאים לחו"ל, לא חוזרים במהרה כל כך. Right? So, how did he marry? His two sons married princesses. Because I'll say Rus and Orpah were princesses. So how come Moav was so forthcoming to marry into Jews? They weren't particularly friends with Jews. Well, I think obviously money. He was money. Yeah. It was viewed as a chap of some sort, and the Melech Moav was happy to have two sons-in-law as king. Now, I forgot to tell you the Alshich. I forgot to tell you this. Now, when Lot's daughters produced Ammon and Moav. So later on in history, Moshe Rabbeinu was going to attack Ammon and Moav. And the Kodesh Baruch Hu said to him, you can't attack Moav because Shnei Preidos, two neshamas have to come out of Moav. If you destroy Ammon and Moav now, Moshe Rabbeinu would have killed everybody. He did his job properly. It would have stopped Rus and Naamah HaMoinis, the mother of Shlomo HaMelech, was from Ammon. So Hashem saved Ammon and Moav. Told Moshe, you can't destroy them because there's two Gerim who have to come from Ammon and Moav. The Alshich says Moshe Rabbeinu was told, like Hashem told him, that the from Ammon and Moav will come the female line of the Melech HaMashiach. He said it seems to be Moshe Rabbeinu handed over this Messiahus to the tribe of Yehuda. The tribe of Yehuda were aware of this. The Gedolei HaShevet were aware that there's going to be sometime in the future someone is going to come from Moav and someone's going to come from Ammon. Says the Alshich HaKadosh, Naomi had a suspicion when Rus wanted to stay with her that this is the one. That's why after testing it out, she stopped pushing her away because she knew this was the family. She was the wife of Elimelech who had this secret. They were aware of this, and he said once she chapped. It's very strange why he went to Moav of all places. She put it all together. Elimelech didn't know; he never lived to see it. But Naomi put it all together, and when Rus was insisting on staying with her, she chapped. This must be the one, and that's why she took her back. Look at the Alshich. He talks about it. So now, Vayomas Elimelech ish Naomi. Elimelech, the husband of Naomi, died. Now we know she's the husband of Naomi. It says in the previous pasuk. The name of the man Elimelech, the name of his wife is Naomi. So what does it mean? Vayomas Elimelech ish Naomi. So the word ish here, in the context, means the boss. Her husband, he was the boss. So what's Shmuel Hanavi telling us here? What's he telling us? If Elimelech died because he went to Moav, so why did Naomi not die as well? So it's telling you she had no say in the matter. He was Ish Naomi and he slept her out there and she had no say in the matter. It wasn't she couldn't say no. Wait, that's the second thing. Then Chazal say another scary thing, very interesting thing. It says, Vayom Elimelech Ish Naomi. It says when her husband passes away, the only person who really suffers and it never heals is the wife. The kids, their life continues. But the wife never recovers from it, and Chazal said the other way around as well. The guy's wife dies, the husband never recovers from it. We learn from Yaakov Avinu, he said, Mesa Alai Rochel. You should say Mesa Rochel, what's Alai? So Chazal learn, the only person who it really affects is the husband. Now, interestingly, the story happened next week I got Yortzeit for my father, 11th Yortzeit. So, the year he passed away after Shevuios, I met a friend of my mother's, between Shevuios and Rosh Hashanah, and she said to me, your mother's going to find it the hardest is Yom Tov time. That's when it hits her, she hasn't got husband, it's a family time, and that's when it's going to hit her. And she said to me, forewarned is forearmed. She realised your mother's going to, that's when she's going to really feel it. Then my sister phoned me up from Eretz Yisrael, I think it was on the same day even. And she said to me, don't forget, Mama says Chazal, she said to me, don't forget, you're going to continue your life and your thing. But for Mami, it's never going to be the same again. Remember, keep visiting her because for her, it's never going to be the same again. So, and that's what Chazal tell us. They normally they never really get over it. Now, it says, Vatishoeh, she remained, he or Shnei Vaneha. He and her two sons. Isn't that obvious? There's 4 people go, and 1 dies, so the other 3 remain. What's Shmuel Hanavi telling us? So Chazal say that you see he was the main part of the house, Elimelech was the main part of the mishpacha, and the 3 who remained, they remained. That means something was left over, but they felt the main part of the mishpacha had gone. So what the other 3 were Vatishoeh, it was a remnant, you call it in English, yeah? Something left over. But they felt that the main chelik of the family had gone when Elimelech died. And it says again later. Now this is unfortunately they hadn't married them yet. They waited until he died, then they married them. And this is very often what happens. They wait till the dad dies before they marry out. It's very, very interesting. There's a big debate. What exactly were Rus and Arpa Gioris or not? Seems to be not. Rashi learns they weren't. Rashi learns clearly they weren't. So Vayisrael Noshim Moaviyah, Shema Achas Arpa, Shema Shenis Rus, Vayesh Rishon Ke'es Shonim, and they stayed there for 10 years. Now the famine therefore must have been going on still. Now 10 years of famine is not. מתי?
היה חידוש של המוני ולא...
לא, זה לא חמש בסיני, אבל... כן, אבל... בואי אז פרסם את זה לפני החתונה.
אז אלימלך עוד חשש, כי עוד לא קיבלו את האלוכל.
אז מה חלקים להם, מה? מה הם עשו?
אחרי שאלימלך נפטר, אז...
yeah, so he didn't allow it.
הוא היה פרומר.
Yeah, but it's very often like that, when the kids marry out, they wait till the father dies. They don't do it b'chayav. I met a guy, I had a friend in Leeds. It's a very funny story. This guy, he had a non-Jewish girlfriend, but he wouldn't marry her till she became a Geiris because he didn't want to upset his father. The funny thing was, it was makbid not to give kidneys to his cat on Pesach. That was very, very cautious to him. No joke, he would not buy cat food with kidneys in, but he was living with a goiter till she became a Geiris, and then he married her. That didn't bother him so much. It's funny, no? But he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't marry her because he didn't want to upset his father. She became a Geiris, she did, and then he married her. But that didn't bother him. Well, yeah, very funny. Okay, so then they died as well. So again, says Vatishoeh. So now the family's like the last remnant is Naomi. So what does she do? So now she's a free woman in a way that she's got to do something. She can't stay there, so she goes back. So listen to this. Vatokom hi v'chaloseha vatoshov mistei moyav. So she packed up with her daughters-in-law to go back from Stay Moyav. Ki shama b'stei Moyav. She heard in Moyav. Ki pachad Hashem es amoy. Lo seis lahem lachem. There was now food again in Eretz Yisrael. So he says here, how did she hear? There was no WhatsApp group. How did she hear? How did she hear that there was food again in Eretz Yisrael? How did she know? How did she know? So the Medrash says there was trade. There was trade between Moav and Eretz Yisrael. There was trade. So although as politically maybe they didn't get on, but it seems to be economically there was. Well, yeah. So effectively, yeah. He says, "Miroichlim hamachzirim ba'yoris." So she heard that there was once again, maybe they were bringing stuff from Eretz Yisrael. Maybe that's the point. So she could see there was once again produce in Eretz Yisrael. Now, quite amazing. Vateitze min hamokim asher hoisa shama. She went out from the place where she was. Well, obviously, if you leave a place, you're going out from where you were. Yeah? So Chazal say it's the same thing as Vayetzi Yaakov in Beersheva. That you could tell in Beersheva, Yaakov was no longer living there. When the tzaddik leaves the place, it makes a big impact. It says with Naomi as well. It was tangible that Naomi had left. Vatelachna bad derech lo shuv al Eretz Yehuda. What's that? Vatelachna bad derech? How can you not walk on the way, on the road? So number one, it means they couldn't afford a taxi, a horse and cart, or whatever it was equivalent in those days. But Chazal say they were walking barefoot. They were so poor, they were literally walking on the road. Literally. The feet were on the road. Now, do you know what day this was? It was actually first day Pesach. It was first day Pesach. So how could she walk beyond the Tchum on Yom Tov? You can't walk that far on Yom Tov. Shabbos as well. It's Yom Tov as well. You can carry on Yom Tov, but you can't. There's still Tchum. Well, Russ carried it. So the Chazon Sofer says something quite amazing. He said there's a halacha. If you buy a house, interesting. If you buy a house from a goy in Eretz Yisrael, you can get a goy to do the paperwork on Shabbos. It's so important. Yishuv Eretz Yisrael that you can get a goy to do the paperwork and even on Shabbos. Chazal allowed it. But you can't. He said you can't. Well, no. So Stam only Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. Yeah, you can't be madam it. You can't do any of this as Rabbanon. It's only this one case Chazal allowed it. Says the Chazon Sofer, she was going back to Eretz Yisrael. It was again Mishum Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. So he says, so he said just like there Chazal allowed it Mishum Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. He said the Tchum as well Mishum Yishuv Eretz Yisrael she was allowed to go. It's a big chiddush. Now this explains to me very interesting because when she starts talking to Rus about Geirus, so Rus said to her, "Basher Teilchi Eilech, wherever you go, I'll go." So Chazal say she told her about Tchum Shabbos. So why have all the halachas to talk about in Hilchos Shabbos? Yes, she was explaining to her. Yes, normally we can't do this. I only did it now because I'm sure you have to understand. Normally you can't do this. She said, "Hey, wherever you go, I'll go. No problem." Fits it beautifully, right? Well, dafka the halacha. Of all halachas, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Okay, but of all the rabbanon, that's the only rabbanon. Yeah, really fine. תחום שבס, גמור אומרת, 5 דרבונות. תילס ידיים, תחום שבס, 5 או 7. 7, I think, no?
גם את זה צריך למד.
Even this. But it's very interesting, so that's why Dafka shows this one talking about, yeah. Okay. So, Vatomer Naomi l'shtei kaleseha, she said to her 2 daughters-in-law, Leichna shovna isha lebeis imah, go back to your mother's house. And she gave them a bracha. Yas Hashem imachem chesed kasher asisim im hamesim ve'imodi. Hashem should do a kindness to you like you did to the dead people. That means Machlon and Chilyon, and to me. So here Chazal say, Rus got the Tachrichin and buried, had Machlon buried, and Chilyon also they had him buried. And then the chesed to Naomi was they were moichel the ksuba. She had no money to pay the document of marriage, whatever there was, and they were moichel it. So she thanked her. She said, "HaKadosh Baruch Hu should repay you." And it's interesting. Straight away, Chesed. See the word Chesed appearing in Rus. This is the five Pesukim in. Already, the theme of Chesed starts to appear in the Megillah. Now, we'll do one more pasuk. Yitein Hashem lachem. Hashem should bless you, give you. Umetzena menucha. You should find rest, Isha, each one of you, base Isha in the house of her husband. Vatisha, she kissed them. Vatisena, they raised their voices. Vativkena, and they cried. Now, what's the word called? Oh, here we got the husband of a Chanit. Where does this word Shadchan, Shiduchim, come from? It's not a Hebrew word. Where does it come from? It's actually Aramaic, but what does the word mean? Amazing this. It's a Gemara on Shabbos. Meshadchin ala tinoika yis b'Shabbos. You can arrange a shidduch even on Shabbos. Yeah, it's a Dvar Mitzvah. Says the Ran in Shabbos there. What's this word shidduchin? He said, we learn from Normie here that when a woman gets married, she finds rest in her husband's house. A single woman, she's in emotional turmoil. When she gets married, she calms down a bit. She finds menucha, rest in her husband's house. He said, the word for rest in Aramaic, he brings the Targum in Shoftim, when it says the land rested 40 years, there's no war, v'shiduchas ara, Givaldik. He says, so getting married is shiduchin, is getting the woman to rest in her husband's house. So that's where the word shiduchin comes from. So a shadchan is the Aramaic noun of somebody who's involved in shidduchin. Just finish off with a funny joke about shidduchin, shadchanim. So Rabbi Yisrael says the word shadchan stands for, you don't listen, sheker doiver, tells lies, and kesef noitel, it takes money, yeah? So they said that's why it's very important to pay. Otherwise he's just a shindallah. If you don't pay, anyway, then he's just a shindallah, sheker doiver. So you must make sure you can catch it later. Right, it's better tomorrow. We're on tomorrow? Yeah.
What was